call our next speaker is Ms. Isha Sharma, founder, Triambak and Geotech India. Triambak is an intellectual property firm and VR Growth is a full-service law firm. She has done her master's in technology and master's in law, along with some certifications in Six Sigma and digital marketing. She provides legal services in India and around the globe. She has 500 plus clients, has done 2,500 plus projects and 100 plus trainings, along with some 20 plus awards in the legal and entrepreneurship field. And today she will be sharing her knowledge on the topic data rights and human rights. Over to you, Ms. Isha.
Thank you again. Thank you, Nana and Santosh, for inviting me. It is certainly my pleasure to be able to talk among such eminent speakers across the globe. So I believe that this is going to be a very great platform for sharing whatever limited knowledge we all have in our respective domains and might be able to contribute it in a certain direction. So I will be speaking on data rights as human rights. So if I'm allowed, can I share my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Let me know if you see that.
Yes.
Okay, great. So as the topic suggests, which is kind of pretty dominant during the digital era. So currently, most of us, even this session is being going on by the virtual means. So we believe that data security is one of the most prominent and promising fields that needs to be taken care of, because there can be a lot of breach which can happen, and otherwise also it might be detrimental to the concerned person whose breach is going to happen. So first of all, we'll try to understand what all data includes, what are the rights that are globally governed and protected in different countries. We'll try to restrict some sessions on the Indian law, and then how to protect your data. So there can be some measures that you can take on day-to-day basis so that you can actually safeguard your own information that you're going to disclose to most of the people. So basically, data rights and human rights are closely connected. So the right to privacy, for example, is a fundamental right, and data rights are a way of protecting that right in digital age. So as the time progresses, we have to link certain laws with each other. So because the digitization is so global in nature, nowadays we have to kind of attach different laws to be able to safeguard and kind of get certain reliefs in certain direction. So considering the right to privacy is actually a fundamental right, and we can directly link it to the data. So what does data right include? So before that, any data about your name, about your, I would say, age, about your bank details, about your credentials, including your identity card, your mother, father name, or anything which is a privacy data is covered under the data law. So now what we are trying to say is that what all data right gives you. So right to access. So whenever there is a personal data, you are allowed to access your own data wherever you have reflected it. Then right to rectification. If there are any changes that inaccuracies in the data, then you have the right to actually rectify that data. Data to erase. So under certain circumstances, if there is anything where you would like to delete that personal data, you have the right to do that. Right of data portability. So if you want to shift your personal data to another organization, you have that right. Like, for example, what we do in our insurance portability or in our network portability. So there also you have that right. Right to be informed. So basically the user has the right to be informed about how the sites or the portals are going to use their data. So if I talk about certain social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on, so whenever we log into those websites, there are certain terms and conditions and privacy policy which explicitly writes that how are they going to utilize your data. And once you log into that particular portal, you are kind of agreeing to those terms and conditions and privacy policy. So basically, there is an agreement between two parties where you agree that, okay, fine, you're allowed to use my data. So if you go and read to Facebook terms and conditions, you will be surprised to see that how they can actually utilize your data, right? Then right to restrict to processing, you can actually limit your data. So how the Facebook is coming with a counter agreement, or that they are not uh, kind of utilizing the directly data rights, is by the fact that they give you certain limitation rights as well. So now it is up to you to limit the accessibility of the data. So if you're putting a picture and then you are restricting it to your friends, if you're restricting it to a family or to one member, then you have that right. So Facebook is relying on those aspects to be countering to your data breach. So that way, whenever you go to any platform, not only the social media, any platform where you share your information, it can be for getting insurances, it can be hospitals, it can be getting a subscription of a software, wherever you are providing your data, please try and read the terms and conditions, because whosoever is fetching your data will be utilizing it for some or the other purpose. So it's up to you whether you want to go ahead to do that or not. So data rights, as we discussed, are human rights. We are just trying to attach these two things. So in 2018, United Nations General Assembly adopted the resolution on right to privacy in digital age, so which recognizes the importance of protecting the right to privacy, personal data as a fundamental human right, as we discussed. So data rights are now the new era of concern, as it is increasingly recognized as an important component of human rights in the digital age. Then there are certain laws which are governing data privacy. So if we talk about US, it is a very, I would say, stringent and compliant when it comes to data protection. So they have general data protection, California Consumer Privacy Act, they have Healthcare Insurance Profitability Accountability Act, they have Electronic Communication Privacy Act. So where all the information that is being fetched by anybody needs to be protected, and it needs to have a consent from the user as well. Then in certain countries like Europe, there is a general data protection regulation. So I would say developed countries are pretty sorted that way, and the developing countries are trying to adapt to the data privacy regulations, and India is being one of them. So coming to India, according to the India, the Constitution of India says that Article 21 is right to privacy, so which is a fundamental right, directly linking it to the data privacy. Then we have Information Security, Information Technology Act, which is primarily a law governing electronic transactions and data protection. So whatever happens through the electronic means is actually governed by the Information Technology Act. Then the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 is still pending. So it's a bill, and we assume that it will soon be called as an act, and then we have more enforceability in India as well. Then we have the Aadhaar Targeted Delivery of Financial and Other Subsidiaries Benefits and Services Act 2016, where the legal framework of Aadhaar system, which sets out the rules for use of Aadhaar data, provides for penalties for violations. Then we have Right of Information Act 2005. I guess whosoever comes from India will be pretty aware about this thing. So it's a very, very interesting and kind of elaborate act and information that you can get. So the act provides for the right of citizen to access information held by the public authority. So you can ask questions. You can see wherever the information is being floated, you will get answers on that. So coming to the point where if in case there is a breach of data in India or other geographies as well, so what is that you can do? So you can report the breach. You can actually go to the concerned authorities like cyber crime cell and so on. You can actually go and report the breach. Then what you need to do at your end would be that you need to change the password. So as soon as you feel that there is a data breach, or there is anything of, I would say, getting hacked or so. So try to change the passwords if you have that information with you. Then you can check your accounts if there is any amount that is being deducted. So you need to be very, very diligent enough on that as well. So if there is a data breach, try to inform your bank and your company, credit card company, that this thing has happened. So maybe they can take a course of action against such activities as well. File the complaint with the relevant authorities. So each country will have a different authority to place with. So that can be done. Stay vigilant, which is pretty obvious, I would say, and try to use only the secured platform. So what is happening currently is that we have a lot of third party apps as well. So if we are dealing directly with one app, then that binding of that particular app is still valid. When you give access to a lot of third party apps as well, that is the point where your data breach is going to happen. So be very, very strict on the fact that if you are allowing any third party actions or not. So, how to protect your data on social media? The first thing would be that if you have any portal that you're using, try to adjust your privacy settings. So, who can access your information? So, I believe that a lot of people are influencers, so they want not to restrict the privacy policy, but some people who don't want that to be disclosed to multiple people. So, you need to set up your privacy policy. So, that's something that you need to do at your end. Be careful for what you share. Don't try to share pictures having any information, personal information. So your home address, your phone number, email ID, or anything that can be tracked to your personal information. Don't share that kind of an information. Even your car numbers should not be disclosed in your photographs. So use strong passwords. We have already discussed that. Try to be wary of phishing scams, which basically means that you need not to open anything which seems fishy to you. So if there is an email, if there is a message, nowadays we have so many cyber crimes happening either on OTP or otherwise as well. So you need to be a little diligent on that part as well. That don't open any link that comes onto you. You need to be very, very proper. Sometimes the kind of messages that we are getting for the phishing scams look so much similar to the bank messages as well. So you have to be very, very diligent on your. Then monitor your account activity. You can see the notification if there is any change of the setting which you haven't done. Again, the main point comes to the accessibility that you get. So if you're giving the accessibility, or if you have too many apps and too many softwares on your devices, there is a very strong chance for the data breach. So yeah, trying to conclude the same, as we discussed, that data rights are fundamental in nature. So the right to privacy is directly linked to the data digital age, and that actually needs to be safeguarded in every country there wherever it is being used. So I'm hoping that India will also come with promising act and implementation of the same. As we said, that the developing countries are doing pretty well and dominant into that area, so it's pretty sorted. So international human rights such as UDHR and ICCPR recognizes the right to privacy as fundamental human right. So data rights, just to conclude, are increasingly seen as an extension of human rights, such as freedom to access information, protecting privacy, personal data of individuals, for ensuring their ability to express themselves freely and access information without the fear of surveillance. Just, I'll take one more minute to brief you a bit about what I recently read, that with the AI coming into picture, we actually, because it's related to the sustainability factor and so on, so what we are doing is that once we are creating AI, there is going to be a huge impact, not only on the technological aspect, human aspect, but also on the water usage. So I just recently read somewhere that if you're using Chat GPT, which is having actively like 100 million users, so just to train the Chat GPT, it requires approximately 700,000 liter of fresh water. And how the water is being used is to cool the data centers, to create the electricity. The amount of electricity and the cooling is required for those AIs to function is directly reflected to what we are giving up on the basic necessities. So according to the studies, where we have approximately 1.1 billion people not having the access to water, going into digital era and just trying to replace everything with AI is going to have a very longer impact as well. So that's something which I just wanted to share out of this context of the topic as well. So thank you again for choosing me to be able to deliver this.
Thank you, Ms. Isha. That was really helpful.
Certainly my pleasure.
Thank you so much. So